right, so today we are going to be reviewing fractions. So in your math log, go to your table of contents, and I want you for the concept to write fraction review. And this is going to be, today's date is 1/8/2018. And then I'm going to be on in the foldable section and page 1. So foldable section, page 1. Okay, so I'm going to go to my foldable section. Foldable section, I am going to, I didn't get a chance to staple mine. Put page 1 up here, and if you want, you can go ahead and number your foldable section. Don't worry about numbering all the sections, just foldable. And then once we're done with our foldable, that is where you are going to glue that. So just set your notebook aside. You need a color sheet of paper. Don't care what color, just grab one from the stack. You are going to fold it vertically in half, so matching it up, okay? You need 5 sections, so you need your sections to be about 1.5 inches. So we're going to cut it into 5 sections. And again, you're only cutting the doors, so don't cut the whole thing. So there's 1, 2, 3, and then 4 cuts will give you the 5 doors that you need, okay? So we are going to start on door 1, and we are going to call that simplifying fractions. Next door is going to be adding and subtracting fractions. Mixed numbers and improper fractions is going to be the third door. Multiplying and dividing fractions will be our fourth door. And then our last door is going to be multiplying and dividing fractions with models. Okay, so go back up to your first door, open it, and the first thing we're going to do is we are going to write on this left door our directions, and then we're going to practice on that side. So I'm going to go to my pencil now. Understanding what fractions are. Fractions tell you you have part of a whole number. So I'm going to put that. Fractions show part over the whole number. So the denominator is how many it takes to make a whole, and then the top number is what part you have or got rid of or whatever the question is talking about. Okay? The other rule that we absolutely have to remember with fractions is what you do to the top, you must do to the bottom. Or vice versa, what you do to the bottom, you do to the top. What you do to the bottom, you must do to the top. And then the question that you must ask yourself is, can I simplify? Or reduce? And that's your question that you're asking. Okay, so we're just going to talk about, let's give ourselves two fractions. Let's take 8/10. You have a fraction or you come up with an answer and it's 8/10. And simplifying is kind of the last thing that you do before you get your answer, but I want to go over how to do it. So you're always going to have to simplify because maybe your answer, you get this as your answer and then you can't find that answer choice. Well, what number can I divide both of those by? I've got to pick one number, so I could divide them both by 2. And whatever number I choose to divide by, I have to be able to divide evenly into both of them. So 8 divided by 2 equals 4, and 10 divided by 2 equals 5. Can I reduce this anymore? Will anything go into 4? Well, only 4, 2, and 1. And 4 won't go into 5, and 2 won't go into 5. So this is in simplest form. Okay? So here's the thing about 8/10 and 4/5. Those are called equivalent fractions. They would be on the same spot on the number line. They equal the same thing. 4/5 of a pizza is the same thing as eating 8/10 of the pizza. Okay? This, though, this fraction is in simplest form. So the two of those are equivalent fractions. It's in simplest form. Okay, let's try another one over here. Let's take 24 over 40. What number can I divide into 24 and 40? Okay, I could divide by 8. What I do to the top, I must do to the bottom. Well, 24 divided by 8 equals 3. And 40 divided by 8 equals 5. So these are equivalent, and this one is in simplest form. Okay, very good. Close that door and go to adding and subtracting fractions. To add or subtract, you must have common denominators. So find common denominators. Okay, then you are going to think about it. If you have a whole number, you need to put that whole number over 1. If you have a whole number, put it over 1. Then you're just going to add or subtract whatever it's asking you to do. And then you need to ask your question, can I simplify? So simplify if needed. Okay, so those are your 4 steps. So let's come over here and let's try a problem. So let's take 3/4 plus 2/12. Okay, maybe I don't know a common denominator. Guys, if you don't know a common denominator, I want you to find the multiples. So it's the least common multiple that you're looking for, or LCM. So let's take the multiples of 4. I have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Then I have 12, 24, 36. And I can stop right there because what I see is I have 12 here and I have a 12 here. It's the smallest number that goes into both of them. So that would be my lowest common multiple, which would be a good denominator. So I'm going to make my common denominator 12. Well, because this one's already 12, I didn't do anything to make it 12. So this is going to stay a 2. Okay. Here, what did I do to the 4 to turn it into 12? Well, I have to multiply that by 3 because I know 3 times 4 is 12. What I do to the bottom, I must do to the top. So now I have 3 times 3, which is 9. I'm going to put a little squiggly line there so you know that's separate. And then I just simply add the tops. 9, 10, 11. So it equals 11 twelfths. Then I have to ask myself, can I simplify? Well, no, because 11 is prime. The only thing that goes into 11 is 11 and 1, and 11 won't go equally into 12. So 11 twelfths is my answer. Okay, so let's try another one. Let's do, let me put a nice little mark across there so we know we're on a different question. Okay, so let's try 6/8. And we are going to take away from that 1/2. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is find a common, least common multiple, or a number that goes into both of them. And again, if you already see what the denominator should be, you don't have to do this step. But if you're struggling finding your common denominator, then do the multiples. Well, 8, I have 8, I have 16, I have 24, I have 32. For 2, I have 2, 4, 6, 8. Aha, 8. Okay, so I'm going to make my denominators 8. Well, 6/8 I'm going to keep because it's already an 8. I'm going to turn this one into 8. What did I do? I times it by 4. What did I do to the bottom? I do to the top because I needed 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. That's why I times it by 4. So 2 times 4 is 8. 1 times 4 is 4. And then I'm going to subtract. 6 minus 4 equals 2/8. Okay? And I'm going to take this right over here so I have room. That is my answer. Then I have to ask this question, can I simplify it? Well, does anything divide into 2 and 8? Well, the only thing that goes into 2 is 2 or 1. So does 2 go into 8? Yes, it does. So I'm going to divide by 2. And what I do to the bottom, I do the top. 2 divided by 2 equals 1. 8 divided by 2 equals 4. So 1/4 is my answer. Okay? So use this method, the multiples method, to find your common denominator if you don't know it. You can multiply the two bottom numbers, but sometimes that gives you a really big denominator and then you've got to reduce a lot. So this would be a better method. All right, close that up and go to mixed numbers and improper fractions. Okay, knowing that an improper fraction means the top is bigger than the bottom, that's important. So an improper fraction are when the top, which is called the what? When the numerator is bigger than the denominator. Okay? And then to turn an improper fraction into a mixed number, you're going to divide. To convert, or let's use the word change. To change an improper fraction to a mixed number, you divide. The line in a fraction means divide, the fraction bar, okay? So we are going to go ahead and just do a problem right here. We are going to take 3 2/3 minus 1 2/6. Okay, so the first thing is looking at those, all I have to do is, first I'm going to subtract, well, I've got to find common denominator. Okay, my common denominator, I just happen to know it's 6, because if I do the multiples, 6 is going to be the first thing that goes into both of them. So I'm going to times this by 2, times this by 2, that gives me 4. And I keep my big numbers. And then I'm just simply, now that I have the same bottoms, I'm going to simply subtract 3 minus 1 is 2. And then I'm going to subtract my numerators. 4 minus 2 is 2, 6. I have to ask myself, can I simplify? Well, yes, because the only thing that goes into 2 is 2 and 1, and 2 will go into 6 evenly. So I'm going to divide by 2. Well, 2 divided by 2 is 1. And 6 divided by 2 is 3. And then I keep my big 2. So my answer is 2 1/3. Okay? So that's how you work with mixed numbers. If you're adding or subtracting, you do the same steps. You just do the other operation. Here, let's take 5/6 and add 2/3 to it. Well, again, my common denominator is 6 on this one. A good common denominator. There's other ones, but that's a good one. And what did I do to the 3? I times it by 2. What I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So it gives me 4. Well, if I add this, I get 9 over 6. Okay, this is an improper fraction. And I said over here, to change an improper fraction to a mixed number, you divide. So I'm going to divide. I know that I can take, if I have 9 of something, and I need to take 6 out of it to make one whole, okay, or 9 divided by 6. 6 goes into 9 one time. 1 times 6 is 6. I subtract, I'm left with 3. So this is my whole number. So it's 1. If I take 6 out of that 9, I'm left with 3, and my denominator stays the same. The issue, so here was my little division problem. I'm going to put a bubble around that. The issue is that this can be reduced. So really 1 3/6, I can divide those down by 3, because the only thing that goes into 3 is 3 or 1, and 3 will go into 6. So it equals 1, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So really it equals 1 1/2. So I took that improper fraction and I turned it into converted it, changed it to a mixed number, and then reduced. Okay? All right. Multiplying and dividing fractions. When you multiply across. When you divide, you use, we're going to call it KFC, keep, flip, and then change. I know that I said keep, change, flip in the order that you do it, but I think you'll remember KFC better. So to multiply, you multiply across. Okay. And then to divide, we are going to keep the first number, flip the second number, and then change the sign, KFC. And then we're going to check to see if we need to simplify. Okay, so let's take 3/4, and we're going to multiply that by a whole number 2. So remember I talked to you earlier about if you have a whole number, what you need to do is you need to just put that whole number over 1. So we're going to keep the 3/4. We're going to put that 2 over 1 because it still equals 2. We've got to keep its value but make it a fraction. The only way to keep a value and make it a fraction is to put it over 1. Okay? So then I'm going to multiply across. Well, 3 times 2 equals 6. 4 times 1 equals 4. So I have 6/4. This is an improper fraction. To convert it to a mixed number, well, I'm going to divide. So I can do a division problem if I need to. Or I know that if I have 6 and I take, so if I have, I'm going to do that right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And to take 4 of it out, I can do that one time. And it leaves me 2 out of 4. And I can reduce this because I can divide both 2 and 4 by 2. So it really equals 1 and 1 over 2, which is 1.5. Okay. And here, this would have been the same thing as taking 6 divided by 4. 4 goes into 6 one time, gives me 4, leaves me 2. 1 and 2/4. Okay? All right, let's try another one. So let's take 3 divided by 2/5. Well, again, I have to put that 3 over 1. I'm multiplying it. So I put the whole number, so I kept this one. I flip the second fraction, and then I change it to multiplication. Well, 3 times 5 equals 15. 1 times 2 equals 2, so I get 15 over 2. 15 over 2 is an improper fraction. So how many 2's can I take out of that? Well, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So I could take 7 of them. And it would leave me with 1, and then I keep the over 2. Again, if I divided that, 15 divided by 2, doesn't go, goes 7, gives me 14, leaves me 1. 7 and 1 over 2. Okay? 1 over 2 can't be simplified, so that's just my answer. Very good. Go to multiplying and dividing fractions with models. This is where I struggle because I didn't really understand the models whenever I looked at it the first time. So we're going to go through this together. So if I have, let's say, a diagram like this, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's say that they block off this right here. We're trying to figure out what they're representing, okay? So what problem is represented? Well, I have 2 out of 3, right? 2 out of 3 are boxed in. And then how many circles are there? Well, that's 5, 10, 15. So times 15. So when you look at these, you need to figure out what 2 things they did. How many they gave you, and then what did they box in or shade or whatever. Okay? Or maybe they are showing you, maybe they have a strip diagram like this. And they said, you know what, you have 3 holes, and then you are going to take that 3 holes and you're going to divide that into 2/3. So you're going to cut this into thirds and shade in 2 of them. Cut this into thirds and shade in 2 of them. Cut this into thirds and shade in 2 of them. Well, I know that this is going to become 3 over 1. I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to multiply. That's going to give me 9 over 3. Oh, 9 over 2, I'm sorry. And then I'm going to simplify. What can I simplify that? I want to change this right here. I want to match something real quick. So let me erase this. So I have the 3 hole, yes, right there. And then I want to divide that into my thirds. So let's change this. Hold on. in the model, they're going to represent one whole. So that's what that one whole represents. Don't cut it in half, okay? So then let's say that I'm going to change my problem. So sorry, you're going to have to erase this. I'm going to change my problem up to make it easier. The keep, change, flip works, but I'm trying to show you what a model you might see and have to identify what they're asking you. So let's say they cut this. This is one whole. And they say to you, you know what? You have 1/6. And then they have that 1/6 and they cut that into half. Okay? This is representing 1/12 and 1/12. What they might ask you is what problem this represents. Well, what did you do? You split that 1/6 and you split it into how many sections? Okay? You split it in half, right? So you're dividing that 1/6 into 2 sections. Well, let's do that math. 1/6 we keep. We take that 2, which is going to be 2 over 1. We flip it over. And then we multiply. 1 times 1 is 1. 6 times 2 is 12. So that's what gives you the 1/12 sections. Okay? So understanding how you might see that and what the math that goes with it. So here, when you divide, I need you to understand that you're going to have equal pieces. When you multiply, you're going to look for what are they doing. And then here, again, you do the math and match it to the diagram that they show you. Okay? All right. So sorry we had to erase that, but I wanted to make sure that you saw the different models that you might have. So what I want from you is you are going to pick up your, so you're going to fold this up just like this, glue this into your math log into foldables, okay? And then put your notebook aside. You may use that to help you with your multiplying and dividing fractions. You're going to pick that up from the table and then turn that into the bucket as you are done. And then you're going to get on your Google Classroom, okay? All right. Thank you.